Hi guys, welcome to Pixel Affair. It's Kobe here. So in today's video, we are going to see how we will do this using Cinema 4D. So this video is actually something I saw on Instagram by Index 3D, right? And I think he used Blender to do it. Actually, this is what he originally did, and I think he used Blender to do it. I saw it and I felt like I wanted to see how we would do something like this using Cinema 4D, right? And I was quickly able to come up with some quick ideas. So this is what I was able to actually do using Cinema 4D, and it's relatively simple to do. It's not difficult until maybe you want to add extra stuff to it. So yeah, this is what we are going to do, and it's quite quick to get to this point, right? So let me actually, this is the project itself. If I open let it play and see, it's not simple. And if you look at the scene, the setup here, it's quite some few stuff, right? So let's actually get into Cinema 4D and see how we will do this. So I'm in Cinema 4D and I'm using Cinema 4D 2025, right? And you can see I already have a lemon in my scene. And this is something I got from the Cinema 4D asset browser. If you search for lemon, you can see, and I chose the lemon one, right? So first of all, I've actually scaled the lemon up a bit to almost the size of a cube. And then I'll actually make it editable. I'll select it and make it editable to keep the subdivision. Now delete this now. So I have my lemon here. So let's go ahead and slice it in a way so that we can peel it the way we want it. And to do that, I'll use a helix. So I'll come into my splines and I'll create a helix, and I'll change the plane from XY to XZ. I'll come into the front view here, and I'll also select the make sure the start radius is set to, like, say 3 and end radius to 3, so it looks thin, right? Let's get closer. Let's select move our helix, the base down here, something like that. And now we can increase the height of our helix to maybe something like 2 to 6 is fine. And then let's select the helix once again. In fact, if I come to the front view, perspective view, I don't like the work plane, so I come into my filters, check work plane, and if I come into the helix, I mean the end angle, let me select the lemon so that we see what's happening within it. So I change it to X-ray so we see our spline within it, and select the helix. Let's increase the end angle. That's what's going to be the coil or the slice. So let's increase it to, like, say 5,000. It can be any amount you want, right? And now we want this coiling or this helix wrap around our lemon, and to do that we will need two deformers. So the first deformer we will use is called bulge deformer. So I'll come into my deformers and I'll use a bulge deformer, make it a child of the helix, and I'll select the bulge and I'll say fit to parent, right? And now let's increase the strength of our bulge enough so that it bulges our helix to the point where it's almost around our lemon. So I'll go ahead and hide the bulge first of all, and I'll select the lemon and I'll check X-ray. So you can see the spline, the helix is moving around, but somehow within, somehow without, outside, and we want it to wrap properly around our lemon. And to do that, we will need another deformer, and that the deformer is called shrink wrap. So I'll make the shrink wrap a child of the helix as well after the bulge, and select the shrink wrap. Come down, you can see where it says target object. The object we obviously want is our lemon, so let's drag in our lemon. And now if we come down to the mode and change it from along normals to target axis, you can see our helix is smoothly wrapping around our lemon. Let's select the helix and increase the subdivision to something like maybe 300 or maybe 250, something enough so that it smoothly wraps around our lemon. So let's go ahead and use it to slice our lemon. And to do that, we will create a sweep object, make the helix a child of the sweep, and create a rectangle and make the rectangle a bit smaller. As a matter of fact, let's select the rectangle and come to the width. Let's set it to something like 9, and the height, let's set it to 0.1, right? And make the rectangle a child of the sweep as well, so the rectangle first before the helix under the sweep, right? So let's make sure everything is fine. If you're having problems with something, you can actually come into the sweep and into the details here, you can actually adjust the rotation and things to make it fit the way you want it, right? But in this case, I think we are fine. Let's see, maybe this should be fine, right? And now let's go ahead and create our boolean bool object and select the lemon and the sweep. Make the child of the bool, the lemon first and the sweep, and select the bool. Come into the boolean type. Let's change it from subtract a subtract b to a without b, because this is similar though, but what we want is a without b. And I can see it has some sliced created for us, right? You can actually, if you want it even more thin, I can select the rectangle and make it even more thinner, like maybe 0.01, right? You can see it's way thinner. So from here going, let's actually check and see if everything is well sliced. So I can simply right click on the boolean simulation tags and I'll add a plot tag to it, right? And hit play to see what happens. Hope plays smoothly. And see it's sliced and it's falling. Now we don't want it to fall. So what I can do is that I can select our lemon. Let's create an instance of the lemon. Select the lemon and make sure it's selected. Come into our object and create an instance object, right? And see, and because of the lemon was selected, you can see it's created lemon instance. So now let's right click on the instance and simulation and add a collider tag to it. And you can hide that one. And if we hit play, you can see what's going on. You can see our lemon is well sliced the way we want it. And if we don't want all of it to fall, we can actually use a linear fill. So I can select the boolean, right click on it, other tags, and I add a vertex map, right? Select the vertex map and add a linear field and set it to -y. Let's select the linear field and make it smaller, scale it down to something like this. And at frame 0, let's move it down here somewhere, right? At frame 0, want it somewhere here. Let's set a keyframe and maybe let's increase the frames to 300 and maybe a frame 240 or something like that. We can move this up and set a keyframe as well. So let's select the cloth tag, come to the attribute, and you can see you have mix animation tag tab. Let's check with pins, make sure it's checked, and now let's drag in our vertex map in here. So if we go back again and let's hide our linear field and hit play, see what happens. Actually see gradually our object will be peeling gradually, like yeah, but you can see the way it's peeling, even though it's peeling, but it's not like similar to if I go to the original one that I did here. Let me actually hit play. Can see this one is peeling, moving along the slice, right? It's peeling along it. And if I actually select my vertex map, you can see how the vertex map moves. It moves along the slice. It doesn't completely like move like with the linear field is doing, because the linear field makes it looks a little bit funny, right? If I select the linear field, you can see it moves this way, but the other one moves like along. If I should go back, you can see it moves along the slice. And so I'll show how we'll do that, but basically this is how I actually sliced the whole thing up and got it and everything. So if you are cool to this point and wanted to see how it's sliced, then basically this is how you slice it up. But to get it for the vertex to move along, we actually have to UV it, and we actually have two UVs, one to use for our vertex map to move along slice, and one to actually texture, and we actually use Redshift to do that. So let's actually see how that one was done. So to get the vertex map to move along the slice the way we want it, let's first of all delete all these things. So first of all, I'll delete the linear field, all the plot tag and the vertex map, even the instance. I'll basically delete everything, leaving the default boolean that we had initially. And to do that, we need to make our boolean editable. So I'll select the boolean, come to the object, and I'll say current state object, right? And you have an edited version created, right? And now let's hide our boolean for now. So this is what we are going to UV to get our object the way we want it. Now if we select the lemon like this and come into our points, one thing you will notice is that there's a lot of points that we don't need. All these points are some points that we don't need, and there's a way that we can actually get to clear some of these points, right? There's actually a way. So to do that, what we can do is that we want to select all the points that falls within on the edge of the original. Like you can see these lines, these smooth edges, wherever the points falls, like we want to keep it, and where it doesn't have, like it doesn't intersect on any edge like of the original lemon geometry, we want to delete it. So like these ones like this, we don't want them, but the ones that intersect with these edges, fine, we want to keep them. So how do we do that? It means we need to get the edge of the original geometry. So I'll select the lemon here, right, which we can actually, let's bring it out. So to get all the edges, you can simply select the lemon, come to our edge and select this, Control A. If you select one of the edges of the lemon, original one, not the sliced one, and hit Control A, right, and come to mesh, edge to spline, it creates a spline for us. So now you can see, if you hide this and hide this, you can see you have spline created from the edges of our original lemon, right? So I can delete this one. There's actually a plugin that actually does this simpler. If I come into my extensions and create edge to spline, right, and come into object, you can simply drag in the object you want to create the edge, and you can see now it creates it. So this one is quite parametric, you can use any object, and this is a free plugin by Nosman. If you actually come to his page on YouTube, he has a tutorial on that, and it's actually here is a free Semaphore plugin, edge to spline, which is very nice. So you can check it out later. So you can use that, or you can actually manually do it. Any of them will be fine. So I'll actually use the one I created so that we all be on the same line. So I'll delete the plugin one. So now I have my splines created, right, and it's fine. Now let's bring back our lemon. Now to get the point selected, let's right click on the lemon, come to other tags, and I'll say point selection. Select the point, and I'll come into the select the point and come to the tags. You can see use transfer. Let's delete the freeze, and now let's drag in the edge to the lemon spline edge that we've created it to spline. Let's drag it in here and select it. Come to the attributes down here and change it from the distance mode. Let's change it from along to radius. So any radius, like let's set the radius to say 0.2. Let's see. So if we now double click on this point, you can see any point that falls within the radius of this edge, like or edge spline, it will be selected. So anything that falls within the radius of 0.2 of this edge spline, it's selected. You can see it selected all of the original points plus some of the ones that was created by the slice, right? So you can see these ones are not selected, but some are selected here. Come down here, some are selected and some are not, right? So what we can do is that let's actually make it even, select this and make it even way smaller, maybe 0.05. So you can see now it's selected all the ones that are really close. So now we want to delete, or we want to select the ones, in fact the ones that are not selected is what we want to delete. So let's select those ones and delete them. So let's, in fact, if you come to selection, have invert selection, or you can use UI invert it. So now you can see we've selected all the ones that we want, but hopefully let's delete it and you can see it's cleared them smoothly. There will definitely be some left within, but I think this is fine for now. So you can see now we've inverted it and now we've deleted it. So now we don't need the edge to spline that we created. So let's go back to our normal view, and what we want to do is now UV this particular object, and it's Quite simple, nothing strong, anything, just simple. So all we have to do is to, first of all, we have a UV here, and then we create another UV. So let's call this UV2. Let's create another one. Right click on it and come to material tags and add set UV projection. You can see a new UV has been created. Oops, we created it on the original one, so let's make sure we don't create it. Do that. Yeah. So let's click away, right click on this and create material tags, set UV project. So it's created a new one. When you are creating, make sure you don't have the original one selected. So a new UV has been created, and that's what you are going to use. So let's select, come into our edit mode. I'll set UV edit, and now it's in our UV edit. Let's actually check the projection. It's set to spherical, so that's what you want. Or we can set it to cylindrical and hit OK. Right? Either spherical, cylindrical is fine. I think spherical will be fine. So let me set it back to spherical and say OK. And now we have our object UV. So what we want to do so that our vertex map will move along is we have to make sure all these UV, all these like slides are in one line, right? And to do that, we have to select them individually. So first of all, I'll do the first slice and speed up the remaining ones. So I'll actually select polygon mode. I'll select one of these. Now UW select, you can see these ones are linked together. So I want to separate them. So what I'll do is I'll select this one. In fact, let me actually make this one. Right. So I'll select all of these points. Make sure I'm selecting the first slide. You can see where I'm selecting all of these, and then I'll actually finish align them together. So, unfortunately, there is no easy way or any simpler way I could do this. So if someone knows how to do something like this easier, can let me know. But this is the only way I could do this. So now that I have this first slide selected, I actually move it somewhere here, right? So that it sort of continues from there. And now I want to select these ones as well. I think I left some in here, so I can actually undo it. And let's add it to it, shift, right? So I'll actually move these ones here, right? And I think we should be fine for now. And if I select this and hit UW, it will select connected, and you can see it's all. If I move this one, some are hidden, so we can select, make sure everything is selected, right? UW, ones that are not selected, you can add it to it. And now if I select this one as well, UW, right, and hit E, you can see you can move it, and now make sure we align all of it in a straight line like that. So you can see that's what basically I'm doing. After this one is selected, I can select this one. In fact, all of these and a section of the UW to select the three and move it. Anyway, but just to show you, get the idea. So like that, hold shift to add this one and do UW. And now I'll move this one along like that. So that's basically it. I'll do all of it, so I get all of them in a straight line, and that's basically all I'll do. After that, I'll scale it up. So let me quickly do that and come back to show you the end result. So now I have it all in one straight line. So if I zoom out, you can see it's quite a long line. So I can just simply Control A to select everything, right? Take the scale tool here and scale it down. Can use the move tool to move it somewhere in the middle here. Right, and let's bring T, the scale tool again to scale it. It don't really care so much about its position, everything. You just want it in a straight line. That's what's important. So yeah, something like this should be fine. Right. So that's all like we want to do. And now that we have it in straight line like this, we have a whole new UV set. So now we are basically done with the UV, right? So let's go back to a standard view. And now if we select, you can see if I actually come in here and I create a new material, like in fact, let me create a standard material, not a redshift. So standard material, and I'll create new material. Let's delete this one, and I'll apply it to the lemon. Double click on it to create a gradient. So I'll come in here and I'll create a gradient, and I'll set it to, let's actually go into the gradient. Let's move it in there like that, right? Something like that. You can see it's not actually taking the shape over UV, and that's because this UV that we created, the one that we've done, is like the second one. So let's move it in front. So you can see this one, Sigma 4D actually takes it hierarchical, like the arrangement. So the first one counts before the second one. So this one is what needs to be the first. So now you can see if I select my object and come to my ingredients and select this one and this, so you can see now it's moving along our slice the way we want it, right? So that's basically what we are going to use to control our vertex map. So if now I come into right click on my lemon, right click on it, object other tags, and I add a vertex map, select the vertex map and come into down here, use transfer, delete the freeze, and I'll add a shader field, right? In the shader field, the channel, I'll change it to color, and the object we want to look at its color is the material that we created. So I can just simply drag it and drop it in here, and I can see now our vertex map sees gradient. So if now I move the gradient, you can see the vertex map is actually working. So this is basically how I actually did it. So now let's go ahead and keyframe our gradient. So at frame 0, let's move it somewhere here, set a keyframe at frame 0, and maybe at frame 2 for let's go 240. Let's set another keyframe for it to fill the whole thing, right? Something like this, and set a new keyframe. So if we hit play, it should be fine, I think. And set, but basically get the idea. So that's basically it. Now we can use that to control our cloth simulation, right? And now we can go ahead and put this one here. We don't want to see it now. Let's right click on our lemon simulation, add a cloth tag to it, right? And also let's come here, we have the original lemon still in here, so you can simply right click, let's disable boolean and the sweep. You can simply right click and add a simulation collider tag on it since it's still active. And now if we should hit play, let's see what we have. Let's hit save. Let's go back, hit play, and see everything falls. So now we can come into the cloth tag, mix animation, enable it, and in there we can put in our how do you call it, you can put in our vertex map in here, right? And I think the vertex map will be working the other way around. We want it, if I select it, we want it red to yellow, not yellow to red. So let's select in the shader field, let's actually come in here and add an invert, so that here it starts red and now it turns yellow. So if I hit play, now the cloth will not be active. You can see now it's peeling from the bottom, and that's basically how this is done. Now the other problem is that how do we actually get the proper UV texture for our object? And I use Redshift to render this, right? And it's quite simple. So let's go back to our Redshift renderer, right? We're going to use the proper UV for our object, because it's using this UV in here. You can see now our texture, like lemon texture, is not working, right? So in Redshift, this is a Redshift material, actually not a Redshift material, but you can convert it to a Redshift material. So double click on it, in the reflectance, we want the material texture. Let's drag it into the color mode somewhere in here. Yeah, and I think the rest is fine. All right, so what we want to do is to select, first of all, come into render and change it to redshift. And now in the redshift render, you can simply come to our redshift material tools, and you can convert the material you have selected into a redshift material. So convert material into a redshift material. So you can see we have RS Lemon. All right, so now let's apply that one rather, and you can see still the same thing. But if we double click on it and go into redshift, you can see we can bring our redshift and in the normal texture you can see, if you select the normals, the diffuse and the roughness. In fact, let's first of all select the diffuse first. Right, the diffuse, you can see down here we have UV channel, and the channel we want to use to drive our UV is the second one, this one. So let's drag in the UV2. Right, the same thing for the normal. Let's drag in the UV2, and the roughness, if you want, let's drag in the UV2. Right, so now in redshift, even though in our viewport you're not seeing it, but in redshift, if we go and actually bring our redshift, let's hit save, redshift render view, and hit render, it should be fine. You can see we have our orange or lemon looking right in the render view, but in the viewport it looks off. But here in the render view, the textures are well aligned because it's using the right UV. So that's basically all that I did. From there, actually, let me see, from there, let me go to original one. Actually, like I did, used it and then add a taken object to it, whether I like, if you want, it's not to making it add taken, or if you can leave it like that. So for instance, let me go back to the original tutorial. In here, if I should hit play, go to the surface, right, and hit play, something like that, you can see our texture, everything is affected by the orange blue. But like, what if we want the inside a different material? We can do that. Create a new material, apply it to our lemon, and this one will come down to the side, and you say back, right? You can see the back is a different color, and the outside is orange material. And if you render it, let's go back to redshift and hit render. You can see in redshift the inside is different and the outside is also different. Right, so that's basically all that I did in here, and I hope this video was useful and you've learned a thing or two in this video. It's quite long than I expected, but I think it's because of the UV and stuff in there. But I hope this video was useful and you've learned a tool, like I'm saying, or something in there. And thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. I'm actually planning something, and very soon I'll now